What if I told you that Christ the Redeemer only exists because a princess refused a tribute? Long before Christ the Redeemer existed, Corcovado Mountain was already watching over Rio de Janeiro in silence. In the 19th century, Brazil was still an empire, ruled by Dom Pedro II, a cultured man interested in science and in great ideas. It was during this period, around 1850, that the first proposal emerged. A priest named Pedro Maria Bos suggested building a religious monument at the top of Corcovado. The idea was simple, but powerful: to create a symbol of faith, visible from the entire city. But the project took on a new meaning years later. In 1888, the imperial princess Isabel of Brazil signed the Golden Law, abolishing slavery in Brazil, one of the most defining moments in the country's history. After that, she began to be called by many the Redeemer. And that's when a symbolic proposal emerged to build a statue in her honor at the top of Corcovado. But what happened next changed everything. The princess refused. She did not want a statue for herself, and she is said to have suggested something different: that the monument should be dedicated to Jesus Christ, the true Redeemer. The idea was powerful, but the moment did not help. The empire was facing political pressure, instability, and deep changes. And then, in 1889, the monarchy fell. Brazil became a republic. With that came the separation between church and state, and religious projects lost official support. The idea of the monument, once again, was abandoned, forgotten for decades, until, in the 1920s, Brazil was already another country, more modern, more urban, but for many, distant from faith. That's when a group of Catholics decided to act. Led by the journalist Carlos Oswald and the Archbishop of Rio de Janeiro, Dom Sebastião Leme, they organized a national movement, the Monument Week. Letters were sent, campaigns were launched, and thousands of people contributed. This time, the project did not depend on the government. It depended on faith and popular will. But there was still a challenge: the design. The first ideas were grand, but not very memorable. A giant cross, Christ holding the world. Nothing felt truly unforgettable, until a simple idea appeared: Christ with open arms, a universal gesture of welcome, of protection, of presence. The concept was developed by the engineer Heitor da Silva Costa, but turning this into reality required more than vision. It required technique. And so the project crossed the ocean. In France, one of the greatest centers of engineering and art of the time, the structural calculations were handled by Albert Cacot, and the face of the statue was sculpted by the artist Paul Landowski in Paris. The models were made in Europe, disassembled, and sent to Brazil, piece by piece. Meanwhile, in Rio de Janeiro, construction began in 1926. The challenge was enormous. Everything had to go up Corcovado. But there was one essential ally: the Corcovado train. Without it, the construction would have been practically impossible. Materials, tools, massive structures, everything slowly climbed up the mountain. The structure was made of reinforced concrete, but the finishing was made with soapstone. Thousands of small pieces applied by hand, like a gigantic mosaic. 5 years later, in 1931, Christ the Redeemer was complete. 30 meters tall, 8 meters of pedestal, 28 meters of wingspan. But before the inauguration, there was an unexpected moment. The plan was to light the monument directly from Europe by the inventor Guglielmo Marconi, an Italian engineer considered the father of radio communication and Nobel Prize winner in physics. The idea was bold: a signal crossing the ocean
to light Christ in Brazil, but it failed. The signal never arrived, and in the end, the lights were turned on manually. Even so, the impact was immediate. Christ the Redeemer became one of the greatest symbols in the world. But it still holds impressive facts. It is struck by lightning several times every year. It has already lost parts of its fingers and suffered damage to the head. And even so, it is always restored. It always comes back, as if it resists time. Today, more than 2 million people visit the site every year. But maybe the most impressive thing of all is not its height, nor its engineering, nor its fame, but rather its origin. Because in the end, Christ the Redeemer only exists because someone refused to be immortalized and chose to point to something greater. And maybe the real question is not how Christ was built, but rather how many people would have accepted that statue instead of changing history.